Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, dear students. Let us begin our lecture. The theme of today's lecture is intonation. Now, discussion items of the lecture. First, the functions of sentence stress. Second, the functions of other intonation components. And the third one, the third discussion item is emphatic intonation. Let us begin with our first discussion item, the functions of sentence stress. Sentence stress is the second primary component of intonation. Its main functions are to single out words in a sentence according to the relative semantic importance and to provide an adequate rhythmical structure of a sentence. The presence of stress in any utterance proves its constitutive function. Kuras distinguishes two types of stress. First type of stress is called sentence stress, which is accompanied by a pitch figure and signals the end of a segment of discourse. Second stress, it is called phrase stress, used at or near the end of English phrase, irrespective of their syntactic structure. Both of these types of stress are combined by the term the accentual structure of a sentence in modern investigations. Pay attention, both types of stress are called the accentual structure of a sentence. Now about the sentence stress, it is used in this distinctive function. It's called phrase accenting, suggested by Vasilyev. Phonologically, phrase accenting performs word distinctive, syntactic distinctive, it is called syntagma accentum, and emotional distinctive functions in the sentences. Is there any mistake here? For example, is there any mistake here? Word distinctive function. Is there any mistake here? This is my brother John. This is my brother John. Direct address. Now, dear students, that is all about the first item. Now let us begin the second item. Let us discuss the second item, the functions of intonation components. We know intonation components have many functions. First, rhythm. Second, pause. Set timbre of voice. Set tempo of speech. Rhythm, pause, tempo of voice, tempo of speech, they are the intonation components. Now, about all the components in detail. Timbre. Timbre determines the quality of voice. It may be emotional and normal and helps to share the meaning of a sentence. For example, I saw my friend yesterday. I saw my friend yesterday. I saw my friend yesterday. may be pronounced in different timbre of voice to express different meanings. That's all about the timbre. You should know the definition of the timbre and why should we use timbre. Now about the rhythm. Rhythm is also one of the components of intonation. It is used to define as the regular alternation or stressed and unstressed syllables in a sentence of a word. The smallest elements of rhythm are called rhythmic group, which are formed by a stressed syllable with following unstressed syllables. The preceding syllables combined with stressed syllables following them are called proclitics. Syllables which are combined with the preceding stressed syllable are termed enclitics. That's all about the rhythm. Dear students, you should know what is the definition of the rhythm and why we should use rhythm. Second, tempo of speech or rate of speech. Also, tempo and rhythm are inseparable and function together to express a speaker's emotions and underline the semantic importance of different parts of a sentence and sense groups. Now, dear students, we should know why we use the component, one of the component of intonation, tempo of speech, why we should use, and why we should know about the tempo of speech. Now, the next pause. One of the intonation component is pause. Pauses perform delimitative and distinctive functions and act like junctures. A long pause shows the end of a sentence, and the half a long pause, it is used in the boundary between main and subordinate clauses, and the short pause signals the end of the sentence group. Dear students, in this passage, you should know what is pause, why we should use pause, and types of pause: long pause, half long pause, and a short pause. Now, the next. Sometimes the meaning of a sentence may depend on different pausation. For example, you know it all right. You know it all right. You know it all right. Emotional means of intonation, express speaker's attitude towards the facts in question, his feelings, emotions, and moods. Sentences pronounced with emphatic intonation. Besides, the central general meaning have an implication. The emotional meaning is superimposed on the central general meaning of the sentence through intonation. That's all about the second item of today's lecture. You should know all the types of intonation. They are rhythm, pause, timbre of voice, tempo of speech. You should know all types of intonation in detail, but you should know why we should know all the types of intonation and why we should use these types of intonation. Now that's all about the second item. Now let us discuss the third item, emphatic intonation. Emphatic intonation may be used when special and general questions are repeated. In such cases, the pitch falls within the interrogative pronoun in special questions and in the first verb in general questions, thus emphasizing the whole question. The unstressed syllables start rising immediately after the fall. For example, where does she live? How old are you? Did you attend all the lectures? And etc. Now, dear students, that's all about today's lecture. Let us summarize today's lecture. Now, intonation. Dear students, you should know in this lecture the functions of sentence stress, how many functions has sentence stress, the functions of other intonation components. You should first of all know intonation components and its functions. And you should know emphatic intonation. What is emphatic intonation? Why we should use emphatic intonation. Then you should know the functions of sentence stress. First of all, you should know what is sentence stress. Before knowing sentence stress, you should know what is stress. Then you should know the sentence stress. And then you should know the functions of sentence stress. Then types of stress you should know. Then the functions of other intonation components. You should know what is rhythm, pause, timbre of voice, temps of speech. You should know all these types, components of intonation, of its definitions, and why we should use these types of intonation components. Then you should know what is timbre. You should know the definition of timbre, why we should use timbre. Then you should also know the rhythm, what is the rhythm, the definition of rhythm, why we should use rhythm. Then tempo of speech or rate of speech, you should know. Pause, they are all the components of intonation. Then you should give some examples for explanation of intonation components. Also, you should know emotional means of intonation. Then, what is emphatic intonation? Why we may be used when special and general questions are repeated. And you should can give some examples to this case. That's all. Thank you for your attention. That's all for today's lecture. If you have any questions, you are welcome. Goodbye.